welcome to Season 2 of the Evolv podcast.
In this new season, you're going to see upgraded equipment and guests that are going to be joining us on themes of business, self-development, health and fitness coaching, and our journey from start to finish.
So sit back, relax, and enjoy the rest of this podcast.
Peace.
Bang!
Welcome back.
And we're back for another episode of the Evolv podcast with Brendon and Rianon. Tune in for the next one. Yeah.
Oh. Welcome back to another episode of the Evolv podcast with Rianon and Brendon. Today, we're going to be diving into the business realm, a little bit deeper into the business realm. Now, obviously starting everyone's business journey, you do have to go into these 4 sectors, and we're going to go into a little bit more depth into each of them today. But Brendon, what are these 4 sectors of a business that should be really focused on when you begin?
Yeah. So if I'm going to take it back to the good old days, back in the day, I came first in business in school.
Ooh.
You know, I'll always hold that on top of my head. I came first in business. Load of shit right now. But, you know, it's always cool to say in my head because I'm like, oh, I came first in business and now I'm running one. Makes no sense at all. A lot of people go to uni and study this stuff. I know someone studying it right now. They probably know a lot more than us when it comes to running a business. But I feel like the biggest lessons or the biggest things that you can learn from a business is not through theory, but actually doing it. And we learned that through the Evolv podcast, doing those first 20 episodes. We learned that through Dynamicrecov and actually running it for 2 years. We learned that through the drop shipping. And while it was a good 3-4 months of work, we put a lot of effort into that. We learned a lot about marketing and, you know, setting up the website, operations. We learnt about there wasn't really a human resource aspect of it, but I feel like that came into like the contracts and all that kind of legal stuff that we're doing in the background. And then the finance, making sure that we had budgets for everything that we were doing. But over time, we've learned that, okay, if we're going to spend this much money, we've got to make sure we're making enough money to be doing these things or getting into all this debt, unnecessary debt that we shouldn't be doing anyway. But before I get derailed on all these topics, I do want to reiterate that we just started season 2. Exciting stuff. We've already had 2 guests on our podcast with Vinny and Adrian. I wanted to tell the guys or tell the podcast viewers this little announcement which I told you before, but just before I need to...
What's going on?
Last episode, we had Adrian. Last episode, we had Adrian join the podcast. If you watched last week's episode, you would have seen Adrian. He's one of our best mates. He's a PT, and he just opened up a gym.
That's not the one you press. No, it's... Oh my God, you're literally ruining the whole thing. It's not that. It's this one. Well done, Adrian, on opening up your gym. Well done.
That's the one.
Yeah, that's all right. Just leave the buttons to me and you just tell me what to press next time.
Okay, I want the cupping ones.
Okay, so it's the orange button there.
That one? Okay.
Yeah, okay.
I just won't press it in again.
Just don't press it. Just look at me and give me a wink and I can press the right buttons.
We should come up with like little things like this wink means clap. This one means crickets.
This one means music. Anyway.
Like that game. Have you played that game, Kiss Me?
No.
Kiss Me.
No.
Something like that. I play it every Christmas, right?
Yeah.
It's where you're paired up with someone. So it's usually good when you have like a big table of friends.
Yeah.
And you're paired up with someone and you have to come up with some form of signal.
Right.
Signal, I said that right.
Yeah.
So like scratch your nose when you have like a pair of 4. So the cards keep on rotating around to everyone.
Isn't that Kemp's?
Yeah, Kemp's. Kemp's we call it Kiss Me, but I guess it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But you get a hand of 4, then you have to tell your partner that you've got a set of 4 without telling them.
Okay.
So you scratch your eyes like that. So whenever I get a set of 4, I usually just tell my partner, hey man, I got a set of 4 keys. It always passes through the first 2 times because everyone's like, why would he just say it out loud?
All right. Before Brendon derails us once again, what we're going to do is we're going to divide, obviously, the 4 sectors of running a business, or the more important sectors of a business. And we'll start off with the one that we've struggled with the most in the beginning, which was getting all the back-end stuff and learning about our trainers. So obviously we started the business with the intention of having trainers on board, and the human resources was really your bread and butter at the end of the day. You're head of HR. So,
I love that title.
so you're technically the head of HR.
I remember I had a profile set up somewhere where I said human resources manager.
I think it was on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn, that's all. I thought I was so cool. I was like, oh my God, human resource head.
Now, bear with us because this is obviously our basic knowledge, but we've learnt, we could explain everything that we've gone through and everything that we've done because we've done it. And it might not be the correct terminology for some of the things we're about to talk about.
Yeah, the last time, like, I came first in business, right? I just keep on saying
keep
it.
saying it.
Keep saying it. But that was over 6 years ago, right? No, far out. 8 years ago. 8 years ago was the last time that I actually formally studied business. All the knowledge that I have now about running a business, whatever, has come from these last 2 years where we've just run it. From trial and error, from making mistakes, from making successes in a way too, because that's actually taught us the lessons too. And what I would say is we might not know everything when it comes to business. We're 2 years in. So there's a lot more for us to learn out there in the big bad world of business. But what we can provide is what we have gained in those 2 years, what lessons we've made. And it kind of would help someone, especially when they're wanting to start. Because if we can provide a little insight into what we've done, then it's good. Now, I don't know how people are going to view me from me talking about this, but we started the business with myself, Rianon, and one of our close friends. And when we were deciding upon like who would do what in the business, like dividing the tasks and everything, I put my hand up like pretty high up, and I was like, I'll look after the trainers. I don't know why I was so like eager. I think we all knew that it was kind of a sector we didn't know anything about. And I just wanted to throw myself in the deep end with something so foreign, like going on interviews, hiring people.
You just did it because you got free coffee.
And I also got free coffees. So every month I would take out our contractors or do these interviews, and I'll take him out to a cafe, and I chose obviously the cafes I'd go to. Cheeky enough, I got a free coffee out of it. So
a couple free coffees according to finance.
Brendon, why are you spending so much on coffees? I'm like, oh well, I got one for myself and one for them, and this person wants some food.
It just all accumulates. But I think what we would like people to understand is that there's skills that also come out of each of these sectors that you obviously learn.
It wasn't just about drinking coffee.
For sure.
I had to sit in front of this person for an hour, find out about their goals, aspirations, what they wanted to achieve. And what I've learned over time is when I first started, I was just all about, this is what I'm looking for. This is what I want. Do you fit that? Yes, no, out. Right? Whereas over time I've realized, no, you can't actually run a business like that. You're just going to throw people off. And I needed people that had the same goals as me, not someone that was just going to follow me like a little sheep.
Someone that viewed and saw your end goal, your vision.
Well, our vision, not just my vision.
Yeah.
I was just the spokesperson for our vision in a way to these people.
You're the voice.
I'm like the person that's saying it.
Yeah.
Like we come up with the vision ourselves inside these four walls, and then I'm just a person that goes out there with his coffees in his hand. He's like, all right, this is our vision, guys. This is what we're doing.
Come on.
But in a way, I felt like now, at this stage now, 2 years in, I've realized that the best way to deal with other people in a business setting is to always create win-win situations. And that's difficult to do. And I'm still learning that. Like, I'm not saying I'm a king of creating win-win situations, but I feel like that's the best way to deal with another person is if you want something from that person, you need to make sure that they're also getting something in return. So then when they have that transaction with you, it's they gain something, you gain something. It's not you gain something and they are worse off after it. So that would come into, are they getting paid enough? Do they believe they should be getting paid more? And are you willing to pay more? Or are you able to? And being able to have those conversations, even though they might be tough sometimes, but being able to have those conversations and come to some sort of middle ground where it's even.
I think the thing with human resources, you don't really put anything around it when you work for someone. But then obviously running a business, you realize how important human resources actually is. Like it's a very, very strong component of what your business is able to output. What you input into HR is what you output for your business. So it was a very important part of our structure to have that in place from the very get-go, because we didn't know what we were doing, but we understood how to speak with people. And I think learning along the way and the amount of interviews that you've been on, you've just developed that skill over time. And that's what I want to preface for the rest of this podcast and each of the sectors, is that we don't want to just talk about business. We want to obviously talk about the external thought process about each sector.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
and the personal growth between it as well, because in human resources, just to touch on that as well, I gained all these interview skills and being able to talk to people on those win-win situations. But I also gained those skills that translate into other aspects of my life too, where I would be able to create win-win situations with my friends, my family. It kind of helps with every aspect of your life. Interview aspects in a podcast.
Yeah, I think it's running a business. You learn obviously those four sectors. I'm going to keep saying it, but obviously you as a person individually, you can divide yourself up into those four sectors if you want to. In human resource terms, when you're conveying yourself or talking to someone, when you're out socializing or any of that, the way you present yourself is very important. So, in the human resource side of things, when you put a lot of effort into how you present yourself, how you speak, the conversations that you have, the questions that you ask, the vision that you see for other people, the effort level that you put in other people, that can really convey a big picture to different people in your life, whoever you speak to, whether it be your family, friends, or just a network. Like say you go networking, the way you talk to people and the way you convey yourself gives them an understanding of yourself as a person, your views and your visions, and it gives what's the word I'm trying to think of? It gives a
new perspective.
New perspective, new perspective on your thought process, my thought process, the opinions that go back and forth, like this podcast, going back and forth with opinions. So, human resources was definitely your bread and butter, which, even...
And I love it because I always disliked getting managed. Whenever I had jobs, I felt like I was getting micromanaged sometimes by my bosses, by managers, whatever it was. I guess because I've always been a very independent worker, I always say that. Like, I was the type of person that give me the tasks to do and I'll do them just in my own way. I didn't like being told, like, you have to do it this way and get it done by this time frame, whatever it is. I was just like, give me the shit, I'll do it.
Did you feel like you had to flip that now being the head of HR?
I've realized over time, as time's gone on, that I'm becoming a little bit like those bosses in the past, but in my own way. I like to give my contractors or people that work for us full autonomy over their schedule, about what they do, the way they coach, everything like that. But I've also realized that it's really important to also coach them, or also like show them this is the way to do it. This is the way that it's been done in the past by successful coaches, whatever it is. So it gives them some form of mind map, the way I'll teach my clients.
That's a good word, mind map, because seeing you come back and forth from each gave me a perspective on how to convey my life and my teaching. So being the eldest of four myself, I learned that along the way. It wasn't more so about how I told my siblings, this is what you have to do. It's more like, okay, I can guide and teach and coach, instead of it just being like, do this. It's more like, this is how it happens. This is how you do it. Here's a step-by-step process. And this is what it looks like. Can you see that? If not, I can explain it to you in a better way. So
exactly. And I feel like we are both very good at that because we're PTs. That's our job. Our job is to coach people, obviously in a health and fitness related manner, like you're trying to improve other people's health and fitness journeys, making it a little bit easier, helping them achieve, increased exercise throughout their life, improve their diet every single day. That's what we do as coaches. So just relating that into our business, when we're dealing with people in the HR world, all we're doing is coaching them to improve their business, improve their coaching skills, which is just the same as PT, just in a different lens. And if you can kind of switch that and be able to deal with it in that way, then you're good. And I feel like you said this to me, I think it was 2 years ago before we even started the business, that you're like, you know what, PTs are chameleons. Do you remember that?
I did say that. The reason I said that that we're chameleons is because you do have to change your color in different situations, and that's where the whole.
I tripped out when you first said that because I was like, no, I'm the same person all the time. But then you explained it, so I want you to explain it to everyone again.
So the whole purpose behind the chameleon analogy is that you're never one color. You're always, obviously, you're talking to different people every single day, and there's always a different opinion or a different conversation that you have with someone. So your color may shift when you speak with someone. Like when I speak with you, I'm 7 million different colors because I have to be, because it's you. But when I'm talking,
Oh, what does that mean?
I just. You're a very colorful person. We'll call it that.
Yeah, we'll say that.
But then obviously I'm talking to clients and they have a certain way that they present themselves. So you have to learn, okay, cool, I have to be this color now for that client. And in a sense, you don't have to stay that color the whole time with that person. You can eventually, as you build a relationship, shift those colors into your own colors, and it bounces and radiates off them. And that way you are understanding the analogy now that you can change your colors when you need to, and you can control those colors.
Which is a very big skill that not many people have, unless you're in some form of coaching space or some form of space where you're dealing with very different people on a daily basis. Because if you think about it, everyone needs to and likes to be coached in a different way. You know, a lot of people like to be coached in a very similar way, but not everyone's different. And when you're providing an individualized, personalized, customized program like what we do, when we go into every single meeting, it's going to be a very different interaction. So we need to be able to, I'm not saying flip our personality, but act a little bit differently with that person. You know, some people might not be okay with a very in-your-face, bubbly person, so you can't be like that. But then when you have your next session, which is in 15 minutes, that person might like that bubbly, open, playful side, and you're going to have to bring it out to coach them in that way as well.
I'll give everyone an example. So today, for instance, I had a client in the morning and I had a group session straight after. So the way I conducted the personal one-on-one session was a lot more controlled, relaxed, obviously had a laugh here and there, but focused a lot more on the tempo, the reps, the form, the technique, etc. So my color was a lot more of
professional.
A professional color, because I wanted to focus on their core strength, strengthening their back, their posture. I'm focusing on all those things. So you had to delegate time and exercises to that specific person. Then you go on the other end of the spectrum to a group session where you have to be bubbly and loud and a nice bright color, and you have to like G people up. And so that's the shifting color that we were just talking about in that analogy.
And you can't be the same person in both those things. Imagine you were that bubbly group trainer inside that one-to-one session.
Yeah.
If I was seeing you, I'd be like, whoa, settle down, man. You're in my house.
Yeah, I know. You're in my backyard. You're in my backyard.
Settle down, mate. Get that speaker away from me.
God. Now let's go into the next sector that I want to dive into, because this was one sector that I was thrown into, but in a good way.
Oh, yes.
And this is the operations. Now, I've had a history with operations.
You're in operations.
You're in operations now, mate. Sorry. Close your eyes and go straight into it. But I've had a history.
You were like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
Like, you're doing it, mate.
You got to do it. But I've always liked operations. Dad has always been in an operations field throughout his career, so I've always been around it. But I didn't know, obviously.
Oh, this is hereditary then.
It is hereditary. It
Wow,
is.
it's passed down the family tree.
It has been. It has been. And I've never really.
Apple doesn't fall far, you know.
Yeah, you know, that is true. That is true. But I've never actually thrown myself into it or learned anything about it until obviously us starting this business. Now, it's not all it's cracked up to be. It's not what you think the title is, which is just operations. There's obviously a lot more depth into it. There's sales.
Create a product and pass it off.
Yeah.
Create a product, pass it off.
Yeah, yeah. it's a whole world that I didn't even know existed. Being thrown into it, it's very interesting. Sales is a completely different sector that I've never been in. It's something that you obviously learn, and reason as to why we got a course on it. It's just a ever growing and ever developing sector of the business. Sales, you never really stop learning, but as everyone says and you probably watch social media videos that say sales is the best skill to learn. Doesn't matter what sector you're in, sales is always the best to learn, because if you're able to sell something to someone in that sense, you have the ability to control a lot of what goes on around you as well. Influence.
They say like good sales skills gives you good influence and power. But I don't like looking at it that way because our product is coaching.
100%.
It's a service, right? And our product is our coaches that we've got in Sydney, Melbourne, and our online team as well.
Yeah.
And when you're doing sales calls, I would say what you do really well, and I guess it's because you are the owner of the company. What you do really well is you are really good at finding out what people's actual problems are,
and
because you're a coach.
Just to preface that again, I don't sell with the intention of just selling.
I've got to make sales. I've got to make sales.
In the very beginning, that's the stigma around it. The stigma is
but we always sort of
sell.
Like, oh, boys, we've got to make sales all day.
Yeah.
But right now, what we're trying to find is Ray's really good at finding problems. I'd say he's a problem finder rather than a salesperson, because he jumps on his calls like, what is your reason for your inquiry? And I'm like in the corner listening. I'm like, oh. I have problems now too.
The way you ask questions and what we've been learning through this course that we've been currently doing is obviously to learn a lot more about the person rather than focus on the sale. And that's something that I've obviously picked up over time, and it's not just been recent, it's obviously been prior that you've taught me, and other mates have also taught me that you got to learn a little bit more about the person before anything happens. Because if you just go, hey, I'm a personal trainer, come train with me, they're going to be like, beep.
Before just pushing, like everyone knows a pushy, sleazy salesman. You always think about that car salesman. You walk into a car yard, hey, mate, have you seen this car? Have you seen this? Come on, get in this car.
It's got low kilometers. Come on, mate, jump in.
Yeah,
I'll give you a test ride.
That's like what it gives that salesperson like a bit of a bad rep.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I still get calls from salespeople every single day, solar calls,
electricity bills,
electricity. Oh, we can find you a better price on electricity. I'm like,
yeah,
seriously, pisses me off, right? If you actually cared enough to find out if that was an issue in my life, maybe I would buy from you. But no one really cares too much these days to actually dive in and actually find out what I'm looking for.
Yeah.
It's just like, we can make it cheaper for you. Have you actually checked to see if that I care about the price I'm paying right now?
Yeah.
If a pricing thing is actually an issue, have you checked if maybe I don't even like the provider I'm with?
And I think going into the role of a sales rep, or being part of the sales team, or doing anything in that domain, you put that stigma around, I need to hit a KPI straight away. And you forget about actually what you're actually trying to do. And that was me very early on in my personal training days. Was I tried to oversell myself as a trainer, as what I could do. But it's more about, I know what I can provide for these people. I've been doing it for 5 years. I now just want to understand your aspect of why you made this inquiry through our website. You made an inquiry. What's the reason as to why you made it?
You saw my beautiful face and you made an inquiry.
That's the reason you inquired, wasn't it?
Or you saw one of Brendon's blogs and you're like, wow, that was so beautifully written.
And I think the conversation that you have with someone is obviously very important, because in the field that we're in, it's more about why. How can we get there? What can we do to help? Can we even help? And those are the questions that you need to have running through your head prior to any conversation.
Any sales call.
Yeah, any sales
just
call.
any conversation.
Any conversation in general. Like, if you can provide someone with a conversation that would help them in
achieve something.
achieve something, or, you know, for instance, our mate starting a gym, bro, I reckon you can do it.
Me and you were really driving that. As soon as he told me like he had the ability to, I was like, you better do it, you know?
But I think that motivation from what
Your
we've learned,
peers or the people around you is important.
what we've learned, obviously, along this journey is to lift the people that are around us up with us. Doesn't matter it doesn't matter about the level that we're at or where we are in the business, or, you know, where someone else is in their business journey. It didn't matter. I think we both put that aside, and we both just went, you know, this guy is one of our best mates. If we G him up, he'll do big things. We just have to motivate him to that point.
100%.
And the motivation.
Coaching.
Yeah.
We're doing coaching.
No, that's coaching.
I was talking to one of my clients recently, and she was saying, without having you around, my circle don't really help me train, help me grow, because all of the people that were in her life before were like drinking every weekend, no training. There was no like health or fitness vibe about them. Whereas me coming into her life and being all about, you know, fitness and health and nutrition, it positively impacts her life because she sees me. She talks to me, and she's like, that person is what I aspire to be like, that has health and fitness protocols in their life.
We spoke about this with Vinny, and how he went through his fitness journey, and how he
being
said
around shredded people is going to make him shredded.
And obviously we were talking about finance, and we were also talking about the stock market, and we were going into that realm, and positively gearing. It's a lot of those things correlate with each other. Positively gearing is a different realm that we'll probably dive into with Vinny in another podcast, but positively influencing people around you will reap your reward a lot more.
100%.
So giving people that positive affirmation of, bro, you can do it. And, you know, you're on a sales call, for instance, and you go, you know what? You know, everything that you've told me so far, it's not that it's out of the equation. It's definitely something that you can achieve. But now, are you willing to put that time aside to actually dedicate it? Because now you're reinvesting in yourself. You're putting all this time and effort into you. This is your moment to, you know, you put the inquiry in for a reason. So why all of a sudden now are you hesitant? If you're hesitant now, what makes you think that in 10 weeks you're going to hit your goal? And if you want to get it in 10 weeks, I know how to get there. And I know that my trainers are able to help you, or my nutritionist, or whatever. Those are the skills that I've learned now, being a trainer and being a coach and being a salesperson, that you can put into everyday life now.
100%. And I feel like it's gaining the confidence from the skills that you've developed from doing the work.
Hit the nail on the head there, mate.
It actually is the confidence that you build from doing it. So me and Ray sitting right now in front of a podcast, talk to us a year ago, no way would be doing this, you know.
We'd be like,
like
hello,
having
guys.
headphones on. No way.
Welcome to the Evolv podcast, where we're going to talk about
Turn the light on.
everything. Are you ready? Are you ready?
Remember those guys? No, but seriously, like, I feel like we've gained this confidence, gained this ability from doing the work in the background. And there's still a lot to learn.
Yeah,
I'd say we would look back on this and start laughing. Like, oh, do you remember that video? We thought we were good.
Remember episode 1, season 4? You remember that? But I think the now this is the biggest one, the biggest sector of the business that I feel like we've neglected a lot, but obviously still put a lot of effort into.
Or I want to talk about the one that we fail the most at.
Yeah, this is exactly where I'm going down that path, is the marketing.
I was going to say finance. So the last
This is currently what the marketing is like at the moment.
Don't tell them that. But you know what? The marketing is this. The marketing is this. It's the brand.
It's this.
It's the podcast, you know. But in a nutshell, I feel like marketing is just the brand, but exposing the brand to eyes and to people. Now, our brand is our faces, is us going on the street, is us seeing our clients, talking to our clients about our business, our team, our nutritionists. And I feel like in this day and age, you can post a little TikTok and blow up and become famous by it, which has created this whole perception that marketing is easy, marketing is quick.
Let me give you an example. Spit on that thing.
Oh, yes.
One video it took, and she's blown up now.
Absolutely. But she's gone now.
But that's what I mean. Because there's so much out there, you can be instantly famous
In seconds.
in seconds. In one video, in a 30-second video, she went from nothing to now jumping on stage with big artists and just
having the brand.
the
and
brand
everything.
shirt, the leaving her teaching job, and all these different things. And one thing, spit on a thing, and now all of a sudden she's this big thing. But now,
Should we do that?
no. But now, where is she? I don't think I've heard about her in ages. And
I
it's
haven't either.
it's just that constant cycle, and social media is so flooded with everything that, you know, you want to create a brand, you want to create a business.
It's so easy to go up, but it's also really easy to go down.
Mm-hmm.
And we're following this mindset that if we just keep on doing the work, keep on doing the thing,
It'll pay off.
it will eventually pay off and our brand will be recognized. And we just want to be recognized as people that, you know, are doing the work. In a nutshell, we just like doing the work. We love what we do. We love being good coaches. We love having good coaches around us because essentially we're just building a community of great coaches.
Now,
And that's what I love about it.
100%. And now let me give the viewers an example of what hard work can actually do, and the shift on marketing that you can eventually change to. Evidence-based training. He, hands down, has great content.
He does. He's killed it.
He's killed it. But that took him 8 years to get to where he is now.
Yes.
8 years
Yeah.
of consistency and posting and
8
starting a
years,
business.
8 years of not seeing any reward from posting every single day, you know, and no one knows that. Everyone just sees him as an overnight success.
Mm-hmm.
I've heard people say like, oh, he just posted a video and he blew up. No, he was posting for 8 years and he's actually said it multiple times.
Now all his content is like, not all of his content, but there's a drips and drabs of his content being like, you think this is easy from where I was to where I am now. Here's a snippet of my life from where I started being a personal trainer to where I am now. I didn't get this Lamborghini and I didn't get this AMG just by, you know, putting stuff on social
He did the
media
work.
once.
He was a coach for
He was
decade.
a coach for a whole decade before he even burst onto the scene.
Yeah.
And now his content has been just him being a funny cunny.
Funny cunny, that's the best way to say
It's
it.
the best way to say it. He's been a funny cunny.
But he's also said, and this is something that I really respect about him, he's very honest and upfront.
Yeah.
He also said to in one of his videos that he not only took that whole time period to obviously eventually blow up and whatnot, but he actually still laughs and cringes at videos that he took like a week ago or 2 weeks ago. And he says, I rewatch my old videos and I cringe, but then I just make a new one and it's better than the last one.
Well,
then he cringes at that one too and makes another one. And I was like, makes sense.
And that's where we learned that it doesn't matter what, it obviously does matter.
It doesn't matter what comes out.
But the essential end goal in what we're doing, which is this consistency, we can look back each week and be like, could have done that better. And that's what this podcast has done for us, is we're able to sit down and watch each other.
Because we watch this podcast at least 2 to 3 times before it even goes up.
And we edit it ourselves as well. So like we both sit there and watch every minute, every second, edit, cut. We watch our mannerisms, the way we talk, the way we present ourselves, the posture that we do, the eye contact, the visual, just a whole bunch of
interview
things.
skills, the questions
Exactly
we ask,
right.
everything.
Like even with Vinny and Adrian, the way we both bounce off each other is something that like I've recognized is good, because you give the banter, I give the question.
Yes.
You broadcast the question into a bit more depth, and then we go back to another question, and it just like consistently keeps growing in
I
the
didn't think we were going to
conversation.
be that good at it.
I
feel like we did pretty good. I feel like we did pretty
for
good.
people for average Joes that decide to run a business out of the blue and decide to run a podcast out of the blue, it's not all it's cracked up to be, because you obviously have to learn that skill over time. It's not
100%,
something
and
that
we're not perfect at it either.
at all.
If we did it again, I feel like the next time will be better.
Yeah,
as well.
100%.
And
100%.
they're our mates as well, so it's a lot easier to do it with your friend who you talk to every day anyway than it is to bring some random person on. If EBT came in front of us, I'll just be awestruck and just be like, hey man,
Doing cunny.
you can run this podcast.
Even he's doing podcasts now, but you know, the reason why we'll go back onto marketing. So the reason why we're doing stuff like this and we're posting consistently, we're posting twice a day. We're doing a lot of content. We're doing this as well. You know, it's a lot of a grind and putting your face in people's phones essentially now, because it's not you being in someone's face, it's you being on someone's phone, then in their face.
Yeah, because marketing is definitely shifted, and if you don't have some form of brand presence online in social media, you're gone. And the world of advertising on billboards is unfortunately dead. You should still have some form of marketing that's physical, like flyers and stuff like that. We don't really dabble in it as much. We do a lot of ads. We do a lot of, obviously, the social media, organic videos that we post all the time. And we're doing a lot of brand stuff like our shirts and our water bottles that you've seen on our previous podcasts. And, you know, marketing is such a big sector. It's all about promotions, campaigns, email marketing. And I wouldn't say we're masters at any of the things that we do, but we kind of do dip our toes in all the buckets. I feel like we have neglected it though. Out of the four sectors, it's probably the top. We spend the least time in that sector.
Here's one pro tip that I think is essential for anyone starting their business, and I think that if you don't have a back end, you will never have a front end.
Because marketing is probably the biggest driver for how you're going to grow your business. You need some form of marketing, because how you're going to get people to know who you are, right? But if you have really good marketing and you have all these people coming in the door, but you have no way to service those people, then what are they going to...
You crash and
You're
burn
going to have
very
people
quickly.
knocking. You can have people knocking saying, hello, and you go back, I have nothing to give you.
Yeah. Well, like the Hawk 2 girl, you know?
Yeah, she didn't have-
Instant fame. So
but
all she had was a
nothing
brand.
to provide.
Yeah, I know, but all she had was a brand, was the Hawk 2. That was it.
She was all marketing, zero everything else.
Zero everything else. So
She didn't have a business to give to those
exactly
people.
right. So it just crashed and burned very quickly. Like it started up very bright and, oh my God, I'll buy a shirt for a laugh. And then these flood of emails and messages come through. It's like, oh my God, I don't have the equipment or the
She
tools.
didn't have a CRM. She didn't have anything to kind of like facilitate that.
They
trade.
could be consistent customers that would buy her new product every month. I don't know the
Hawk
detail.
Tour mug,
Yeah.
getting the Hawk Tour hat.
I don't know
whatever
the
it is.
details about it, and I don't know the depth of it.
Yeah,
but
we shouldn't
just
really talk about it too much because we don't know too
Exactly,
much about
exactly.
it. But I do know that it was all marketing, zero everything else. But you know, maybe she solved it. We
Maybe.
just don't know.
and that's where investing comes into the play. You know, if you invest into the right stuff at the right time, or you always have a CRM, for instance, or something to keep the business afloat and track, that would obviously help, and that segues us into our next sector,
I
which
knew you were doing that as well.
which
This
is
guy has become the king of segueing. I remember we were in season 1. I think it was episode 15 or 16. So I remember these weird things, right? And he was saying the whole episode, and now we're segueing onto the next topic. And I'm like, you don't tell them that you're segueing.
That's why I
does
said
it
it.
without saying segueing. He just starts talking about the topic and just goes into it.
See, investing into a good CRM and investing into good operations and HR will.
Oh, isn't investing in finance?
Yes, that's correct.
Oh, wow.
You've hit the nail on the head. Finance is our next topic, actually, because that's the fourth
You know what
sector.
I think about finance? This is what I think about finance.
You know what? As much as those crickets do tell the truth, it's probably the
One of the
most
most
important because that's how you obviously track everything. And if your business is progressing, or if you're, I don't know, what's the word for it? If you're seeing a good growth in your business.
Well, if you've got people working for you, you need to be making sure that you're making enough money to be able to pay them correctly and be fair and pay all your suppliers, all the people that you owe money to. You know, if your business isn't making money, you're not going to be able to provide to the community that supports you, because people always have this vision or this view of businesses just being things that make money for the owners, right? And people that don't run a business or don't know enough about a business view them that way. But if you think of what a finance sector is, it's not only finding out what the net profit is, I feel like that's only one tiny aspect. You've got all these people that you owe money to. We owe money to people that run our ads. We owe money to our coaches. We owe money to everyone that we've bought courses to. We owe money to all the systems that we use, which run our business, but essentially run their business and pay for their employees. So the money that we spend ends up helping all these other people in all these different areas that are impacted by our business.
It's a sector that I despised. I hated. I couldn't run the numbers in my head. Didn't make any sense. And that was being in the business now, brother, you need to know. If you don't know, you're going in blind. And you're just like, ooh, new sale. Cool. Just leave it, let it float in the air. No, you can't. You can't let that just float in the air. You got to track it. You got to make sure that everything's set up in the background. You got to make sure that, you know, you've got a good relationship with these people. So these people are always feeling...
Well, they're getting the service that they're paying for.
You want people to feel like they're not a number and they're an actual person and a value to your business.
Exactly, because we are not giving... I feel like you can see them as numbers if you're just giving them a product, right? But we're actually providing them with a service that they're getting ongoing from one of our coaches.
Yeah.
So for us, we need to make sure that we're getting paid from them so we can pay their coach for the service that the coach is providing them. But not only that, making sure that they're getting the service that we promised and getting the service that they're expecting from our coach as well.
I think that's the most important is you can talk all this gibberish and sell them a car that, like, we'll go into the car salesman.
It's the easiest.
It's the easiest way for people to understand. But you can, you know, as a car salesman, you can fiddle with the odometer and, well, not these days, but back in the day, you could fiddle with the odometer and put new oil in and put new tires on and not actually tell people that there's a head gasket gone or there's axle shafts that need to be replaced and nothing like that. But you could sell them on the fact that this is the best and you're the best and here you go, here's a car. But then there's no service behind that because you're just, one person comes in, buys the car, out, see ya. Oh, but this is broken, that's broken. That's my hands are clean. You bought the car. Yeah. That was in the contract.
That whole system that they've got is all about
churning turnover.
Yeah, it's just turnover. Just getting new customers all the time. I feel like I would rather have a business running that had repeat customers, and the only way that you can get repeat customers or have people that are on for a long enough period of time is if you actually service them and you service them well. And the only way you service them well is by providing them enough value that they see that the money that they're spending is actually being provided to them in a service.
And that relationship that we build with our future clients on the phone is so valuable to them because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who you talk to, what sector, what business, what thing you want to go down or what thing you want to pay for. When a call happens in that situation, the trust has to be built straight away. Because if you're just like, yep, we can provide you with X, Y, Z. Are you happy to move ahead? Okay, cool, bye. There's no relationship. There's no connection. There's no personality behind your voice.
You didn't care enough to find out what the actual reason was for the
inquiry. Exactly right. So it's a very good skill to learn, obviously the sales stuff, but with the finance, you got to understand that it's a very tough world that we live in at the moment.
Same as a business though as well. I realized that you need to start, when you run a business or a company like we do, you need to understand that the company or the business is its own person. You actually have to look at it as its own person with its own expenses, with its own income, whatever, and that it has its own expenses that it pays for and it has its own income that comes into it. And you got to treat it like that. If you just see it as your own, then you're not going to view it the same. But if you view it as another person that doesn't know anything, it's just like a thing that makes money and loses money, then you gotta manage its budgets. You gotta be the person that helps it grow and helps it facilitate what it wants to do and what it wants to achieve.
When you're at school, for instance, you start learning about Pythagoras theorem and all these other things, and you're like, I won't need math in school. Oh, I won't need math outside of school. I won't need it. But it's just, it's not that you need to know math. It's just you need to be a generalist. You need to be a generalist with every faculty in life because...
Oh, there's some people that use that stuff, like scientists. And
For sure. But I'm just saying, like, for instance, us or myself, all right, I'll steer clear of other people, but myself as a person, I was always like, I won't need math. And then, hey, mate, you got to pay some tax. Have you looked through your books? Shit. You got to run through the books and start calculating this and running that. And you're like, oh my God, now I'm stressing out. And then you're just like, oh, I need a calculator. And oh shit, but what do I have to divide? And you start panicking. But now it's for myself. I've learned that, okay, there's a step-by-step process. There's other people that know a lot more than you. You can ask. It's not bad to ask. And there's people that know a lot more than you do. The finance sector is definitely something that I've grown into. It's not something that you'll learn to understand straight away, but it's something you'll learn to understand over time. And that's a very important sector of yourself as a business and a business in general.
100%. And I feel like some people just know it. You know, some people are just good at numbers. Like we have a friend of ours who...
Mate, human calculator.
He was running
human
this with
calculator.
us and he did all of the finance for us. And me and me were like, sweet.
No,
We just had all this trust because we were like, he's really good with numbers. That's how his brain's wired.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas for me and Ray, we actually have to put in a lot more effort into it because our brains aren't wired that way. And we look at the numbers and we're like,
but
man,
since working together a lot more on like even talking about it like on this podcast and doing it obviously every day, we've created a better relationship because we're both learning at the same time as well.
about the same things.
About the same things.
Like it's boring, but it's simple at the same time.
Yeah.
It's just about doing the work, about like writing up all your expenses, writing up all your income, writing up everywhere that you know, okay, this person needs to get paid. This is what has to happen. These are the goals, because you have to have goals. That's another thing we haven't really touched on. You have to have goals for each sector as well, like a sales/operations goal, a human resources goal, a marketing goal, and a finance goal. Every single sector has to have its own goals, and they're all different, but they all have to point to the same central goal for the business or the vision per se.
If you focus on those 4 sectors of a business or yourself as a business, if you set yourself a goal, you got to achieve it. If you want to lose that weight, you got to achieve it. That's your goal.
You got to put the work in,
It's
involved.
exactly the same with a business. So in summary, all those 4 sectors have a goal or should have a goal at the end of the day. And if you can work towards each of those sectors to the overall goal, which is financial freedom or whatever it is, or creating a balanced lifestyle, that's where obviously you get to crack the egg open and go, Ella, I won. I did it. High five. We did it. I think another thing that we've learned, obviously, since dividing this up is how we divide our own life up and how we create balance in our life. Because sitting down and cracking those 4 or dividing those 4 on a whiteboard and going, this is what we have to do in each of them, it's like our own
They'll
life.
be able to see in the podcast. Like, there's a few.
But let's for instance just break it up into real life. So say gym is an important sector or health and fitness is an important sector in your life. That's one.
Yeah, career.
Yourself and your mental health is another one. Another one is your family and friends, and
Another one is career or money.
career
like
or finance.
finance. Yeah. Well, everyone has some finance, like their career or whatever things they
Exactly.
do to make money.
And you got to have individual goals for all of them, exactly like with a business. So creating that understanding of you have to have balance in your business. You also have to have balance in yourself. You get a better flow with this overall thought of you got to create a balanced lifestyle. Like you can never have a balanced lifestyle, but you can create one and that just continuously evolves over time.
To me, it's just about creating a lifestyle that you feel like you can stick to for that current moment because it's going to shift. Maybe even tomorrow. There might be something big that happens in your family life where you might need to actually take a back step from everything else and focus more on that for, a month or 2. Or maybe there's a big thing that happens in your business or your career where you might need to take a hiatus from everything else. Or maybe you have some fitness goal or some competition like a marathon you just entered that you want to start putting more effort into, and you're more focused on the other things. But it's all about making sure that you know, okay, these are the 5 things that I have in my life. I need to make sure they're always in my life. Sometimes I'm going to be focusing more on 1 or 2 at a time.
Some have goals, some don't. And
Exactly.
then those goals that you do hit, say with 3 out of the 5, you hit those goals. Okay, cool. I've hit those goals. Now I can focus on the other 2. Now let's create goals for those. And then you just continuously, you choose a finger. That's how I like to do it. I use you use your hands. Like if you have 5 things that you focus on in your life, you go, all right, I want a goal for my thumb, my index finger, and my middle finger. Okay, let's aim towards those. Okay, cool. I've hit those goals. What's next? My pinky and my ring finger. All right.
And it doesn't mean you've forgotten about those 2 fingers or those 2 parts of your life. They're still there. You just focus less time on them at that period of time.
And then you hit these goals and these ones pop up again. So now you got another goal for
And you're
the
always
other
rotating.
sector, and you just keep rotating.
To me, that's what balance is.
100%.
Constantly making improvements
100%.
in every sector of your life, just like a business.
To summarize this podcast, we've divided the 4 sectors,
Which we haven't done before now.
which we haven't done before in a podcast
Because we were always sketchy. Like, we never really talked about Dynamicrecov too
at all.
much.
No.
Well, we didn't even really speak about it today because it was very generalized. This is
Yeah.
what anyone can take from a business and what is involved in the 4 sectors and whatnot. But this is what we do for Dynamicrecov.
Yep.
It's what we do every single day. And if you gain something, drop us a like,
Yeah.
comment, maybe throw this up on your story, and you know,
we're gonna
pass it on.
help us with the marketing side of things because
Help market our podcast and help market Dynamicrecov for us.
oh, okay. I think on that note, we're out.
We're out for another week, all right?
Ciao.
Tune in. Next week, we're actually going to be having Adrian.
Yep. No.
No. Sorry
We're
about that, guys. Last week was Adrian.
I think for now we'll sign out. We won't preface anything. There's nothing to come up yet. But
There is, but we won't be telling them.
it's a secret.
Tune in.
Ciao.
If you subscribe, you can find out very soon.
Thank you guys for listening to this week's episode of the Evolv podcast with Brendon and Rianon.
Make sure that you stay tuned for next week's episode. We're going to be dropping one every week. So make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe. And for now, the Evolv podcast. We'll see you soon.
And we're out.
Ciao.